Cersei Lannister murdered thousands of people by blowing up the Sept of Baelor. She armed religious fanatics who immediately turned on her. She watched all 3 of her children die one by one, and through it all, she believed she was saving them. Here's what most people don't understand about Cersei's plan. Everything she does, every murder, every scheme, every alliance, is driven by something deeper than just wanting power. She's following a script written for her when she was 10 years old, a prophecy that told her exactly how her life would unfold and exactly how she would die. And her entire plan was built around one goal: preventing that prophecy from coming true. But here's the twist: every decision Cersei makes to stop the prophecy comes back to 3 core wounds. First, the prophecy itself that predicted her children would die and she'd be murdered by her little brother. Second, a father who made her feel completely worthless just for being a woman. And third, a twin brother she doesn't see as his own person anymore, but as an extension of herself. So what was Cersei Lannister's actual plan? What drove this woman to alienate every ally, destroy her own family, and end up crushed beneath the ruins of the Red Keep? The answer is way more calculated and way more tragic than you think, because Cersei's plan wasn't just about holding power. It was about proving that she wasn't the weak, worthless woman everyone believed her to be. And ironically, every move she made to prevent her downfall only guaranteed it would happen. Let me show you Cersei Lannister's entire plan, and why the prophecy didn't doom her, she doomed herself. So first, let's talk about the foundation of everything. Was Cersei born wrong? Because Cersei Lannister's entire life was shaped by one fundamental injustice. She was born a woman. Cersei was born in 266 AC, the firstborn child of Tywin and Joanna Lannister. She came out first, technically the eldest, but only technically, because moments later her twin brother Jaime was born. And in that instant, everything Cersei should have inherited became his instead. As a woman, Cersei wasn't entitled to inherit Casterly Rock before a male heir, so despite being older than Jaime, even if only by minutes, she was placed below him, and possibly even below Tyrion, her younger brother. This is the wound that never healed. Cersei saw herself as smarter than Jaime, more cunning, more deserving. She believed she was Tywin Lannister's true heir, the one who actually understood power, who had his ruthlessness, his intelligence, his strength, but none of that mattered. She had been cursed with the woman's body. When Tywin Lannister spoke, men obeyed. When Cersei spoke, they felt free to counsel her, contradict her, even refuse her. It is all because I am a woman. That's what she said. And there's some truth to that. Westeros culture doesn't respect women the same way it respects men. She was never trained in warfare, never educated in politics the way Jaime has, even when she would secretly dress as Jaime and take his place in sword training. Tywin shut that down immediately. But here's the thing. It's not just about being a woman. Daenerys, Olenna Tyrell, even Catelyn Stark, they all commanded respect in their own ways. The real problem is that Cersei internalized being a woman as a curse, as something shameful, as the reason she feels worthless. Tywin never hated Cersei the way he hated Tyrion, but in many ways, being ignored was worse than being hated. Listen to how Cersei describes her father's gaze. This is how she sees herself underneath everything. Weak, worthless, ugly, and she blames it on being born female, because that gives her an explanation, something external to point to rather than facing those feelings directly. If being a woman is why I feel worthless, then I just need to be more like a man. I need to be Tywin, I need to be Jaime, I need to prove I'm not weak. This becomes her entire identity. She's not really a woman, she's a man's spirit trapped in a woman's body. She's Tywin Lannister with teats. She's the true heir, just cursed by the gods. And because she sees herself this way, she projects all her self-hatred onto other women. She calls them weak, pathetic, stupid. She looks down on them constantly. Women are nothing but tools. Their only weapons are sex and tears. Cersei is deeply, profoundly misogynistic. And it's because she hates herself for being a woman. Now let's talk about the most important relationship in Cersei's life, her twin brother Jaime. Because Cersei doesn't love Jaime the way normal people love. She loves him the way a narcissist loves a mirror. Think about it from Cersei's perspective. Here's Jaime, who looks exactly like her, same golden hair, same green eyes, same face. They're so similar that as children, people couldn't tell them apart. They would swap clothes and no one noticed. But Jaime gets everything Cersei wants. He's trained as a warrior. He's groomed to be heir. Gets Tywin's attention and respect. He's praised, elevated, given everything, just because he's a male. So what does Cersei do? She merges her identity with his. Jaime and I are more than brother and sister. We belong together, is what she says. This isn't love, this is narcissism. Cersei sees Jaime not as his own person, but as an extension of herself. He's the male version of her. He's what she should have been if the gods hadn't cursed her with a woman's body. If Jaime is perfect and Jaime is me, then I'm perfect too. Watch how the relationship actually works. Jaime does everything for Cersei. He runs to her aid, he listens to her problems, he kills for her, he sacrifices his entire life for her, and what does Cersei give him? Intercourse. That's it. She uses physical intimacy to control him, to keep him bound to her. When Cersei heard Tywin was planning to marry Jaime to Lisa Tully, she seduced Jaime and convinced him to join the Kingsguard instead, which would require him to stay unmarried and live near her in King's Landing. Jaime gave up his inheritance, his future, everything, so he could be with Cersei. Jaime sacrificed everything for their relationship. Cersei sacrificed pretty much nothing. And when Jaime returns from captivity after months of torture and brutalization, after losing his hand, after changing as a person, Cersei immediately gives him the cold shoulder. Why? Because he's no longer the perfect reflection she needs him to be. He's questioning her, refusing to blindly obey. The moment he stops being her tool, her mirror, her extension, she turns on him. She wants to be Jaime. She can't have what he has. She can't be trained as a warrior, can't inherit Casterly Rock, can't command the respect he gets. So she merges with him, controls him, takes his place in training when she can. He is me, I control him, I join with him, I operate his brain. He's the male version of me, the version that gets everything I deserve. And because Jaime is this perfect golden child, at least in Cersei's eyes, she needs him to reflect her own perfection. He can't be with anyone else, he can only be with her. That's why Cersei sleeps with Lancel during Jaime's absence. She doesn't care about staying faithful, but Jaime can never sleep with anyone else, because that would break the image. That would mean Jaime's his own person and not just an extension of Cersei. Now we come to the single most important moment in shaping Cersei's life, the prophecy of Maggie the Frog. When Cersei was 10 years old, the same day her betrothal to Prince Rhaegar was supposed to be announced, she visited a fortune teller named Maggie the Frog with her friend Melara. And Maggie told her this: "You will marry the king, not the prince. You will have 3 children with golden crowns and golden shrouds. A younger, more beautiful queen will cast you down and take all that you hold dear. And when your tears have drowned you, the Valonqar will wrap his hands around your pale white throat and choke the life from you." That same day, Cersei learned she wouldn't marry Rhaegar, confirming part of the prophecy. And that night, Melara died. How did she die? Cersei killed her, threw her into a well. Why? Because Melara wanted to tell people about the prophecy, and Cersei needed her to stay silent. Also because Melara had dreams of marrying Jaime, and no one gets to have Jaime except Cersei. So at age 10, Cersei committed her first murder, and from that moment on, the prophecy became her obsession. Valonqar is High Valyrian for little brother, and who is Cersei's little brother? Tyrion. From that moment on, every ounce of hatred Cersei already had for Tyrion multiplied 1,000 times. She already blamed him for killing their mother Joanna during childbirth. She already hated him for being a dwarf, for being grotesque, but now he became a symbol of her own death. Tyrion haunts her. He appears in her nightmares. Everything that goes wrong somehow becomes Tyrion's fault, even after he escapes King's Landing. She's so paranoid about Tyrion still hiding somewhere in the Tower of the Hand that she burns the entire building to the ground. Tyrion becomes this visceral, gothic symbol of everything Cersei fears about herself. Weak, worthless, monstrous, prophesies to die. That prophecy also mentions a younger, more beautiful queen who will cast Cersei down. First, Cersei thinks it's Sansa Stark, betrothed to Joffrey, beautiful, poised to become queen, so Cersei torments her, psychologically tortures her, tries to control and break her. Then it's Margaery Tyrell, and that's when Cersei's paranoia explodes completely, because Margaery is everything Cersei claims to be but actually isn't. Margaery is charming, politically savvy, loved by the people. She plays the game better than Cersei ever could. Margaery is who Cersei thinks she is, and that drives Cersei insane. Here's the thing about the prophecy. Cersei believes it, not just because part of it came true, but because she wants to believe it. The prophecy promises she'll become queen. It promises she'll have 3 beautiful children. These are things she's always dreamed of, so of course she believes it. But believing it also means accepting the darker parts, her children dying, being cast down, being murdered by the Valonqar. And that fear drives every single decision she makes. She spends her entire life trying to prevent the prophecy, and in doing so, she guarantees it comes true. Let's talk about Cersei's 3 children, Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen, all fathered by Jaime, not Robert. And this is crucial to understanding Cersei. Her children aren't really her children. They're extensions of herself. Cersei became pregnant by Robert early in their marriage, and she immediately took moon tea to abort it. Every time after that, she made sure Robert never finished inside her. Why? Because she couldn't bear the thought of having Robert's child. Robert, who called her Lyanna on their wedding night. Robert, who hurt her during intercourse, who hit her, who cheated on her constantly. She couldn't stand the idea of someone like Robert coming out of her body, so instead she has 3 children with Jaime, the person most like her in the world. Having children with Jaime is almost like having children with herself. Joffrey is Cersei's perfect prince, her golden boy who can do no wrong. It doesn't matter that he's cruel, sadistic, that he tortures animals and people. It doesn't matter that he's uncontrollable. In Cersei's eyes, he's perfect, he's strong, he's everything she wants to be. She has to see him as perfect because he's an extension of her, and she has to see herself as perfect. This is textbook narcissistic parenting, and it's exactly this enablement, this refusal to discipline or correct Joffrey that shapes him into the monster he becomes. When Joffrey orders Ned Stark executed against everyone's advice, it's the culmination of years of Cersei telling him he's perfect, he's right, he's destined for greatness. Then there's Tommen, the younger one, the one who can never measure up to Joffrey. Everything Tommen does is wrong in Cersei's eyes. He's weak, he's scared, he's not the warrior king she needs him to be. She tells Tommen, Joffrey would never have shamed me so. That's how Cersei talks to Tommen. She compares him constantly to his dead brother, punishes him for showing fear, for being gentle, for being human. When Tommen talks back to her once, just once, she forces him to whip his whipping boy until the boy is bloody. And if Tommen refuses, Qyburn will cut out the boy's tongue in front of him. That's the one time he disobeys. The one time. And then there's Myrcella, who barely gets mentioned, the daughter. Another woman, like Cersei, overlooked and disregarded. Cersei is angry when Myrcella is sent to Dorne, but it's more about losing a symbol of her own image than genuine care for her daughter. Gold shall be their crowns, and gold their shrouds. All 3 children die, just as the prophecy foretold. Joffrey is poisoned, Myrcella is killed in Dorne, Tommen commits suicide after Cersei blows up the Septed Baelor. And each death devastates Cersei, not because she loved them as independent people, but because they were reflections of herself. Their deaths symbolize her own death, her own failure, her own worthlessness. She couldn't save them. She couldn't save herself. Now let's talk about the 2 men who defined Cersei's view of marriage, Prince Rhaegar and King Robert. When Cersei was a child, Tywin told her she would marry Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, and Cersei dreamed about it constantly. She drew pictures of herself riding behind Rhaegar on a dragon. She imagined being queen. She imagined all the love and adoration and power that would come with marrying the perfect prince. Rhaegar represented everything she ever wanted. Validation, perfection, the throne, but then King Aerys refused the match. He told Tywin, "You are my most able servant, but a man does not marry his heir to his servant's daughter." The rejection crushed Cersei. She'd been dreaming of this marriage since she was 6 or 7 years old, and suddenly she was told she wasn't good enough? She was just a servant's daughter with ideas above her station. That phrase, ideas above her station, haunts Cersei for the rest of her life. It's what she accuses others of. It's the insult that cuts deepest. Then Rhaegar was killed by Robert Baratheon at the Battle of the Trident, and Cersei ended up marrying Robert instead, the new king. At first, she had hope. Robert was powerful, good-looking, a king. Maybe this could be everything she dreamed of. But on their wedding night, during intercourse, Robert whispered Lyanna instead of Cersei. He would never love her. She was just a political tool, a pawn in her father's game. And it got worse. Robert hurt her during intercourse. He hit her. He cheated on her constantly with other women. He was drunk most of the time. Cersei went from dreaming of being a beloved queen to being a prisoner in her own marriage. There's something important here. Cersei, who suffered abuse from Robert, becomes an abuser herself. She torments Sansa Stark, a young girl betrothed to her son Joffrey. Almost like Sansa is a younger version of herself. She takes pleasure in destroying Sansa's innocence, teaching her cruel lessons about the world. She sleeps with Tyne Merryweather and deliberately hurts her during intercourse, trying to imagine herself as Robert, trying to understand why he hurt her, trying to take control by becoming the abuser instead of the victim. She couldn't escape Robert's abuse, so she became him? Here's the tragic irony of Cersei. She believes she's Tywin Lannister's true heir, the one who understands power and politics, but she's actually terrible at it. She enables Joffrey. Her refusal to discipline him or see his faults turns him into an uncontrollable monster who starts a war by executing Ned Stark. She fights with Tyrion constantly. Instead of working with her brother who's actually competent, she fights him at every turn, even trying to have him killed during the Battle of Blackwater. She arms the Faith militant, trying to use religion as a weapon against Marjorie. She gives the Faith an army. which immediately turns on her and imprisons her. She surrounds herself with incompetent yes men, like the Grand Maester, instead of honest advisors. She burns the Tower of the Hand because she's paranoid about Tyrion hiding in a secret passage. Pure paranoia, zero strategy. She builds a fleet with Orain Waters, giving him ships and money, and he just sails away with everything. She alienates the Tyrells, her most powerful allies, plotting against them constantly until they become enemies. Cersei thinks she's like Tywin, but she only sees the surface. Tywin was hard and ruthless, but she doesn't understand is that Tywin also knew when to wait, when to show restraint, when to make alliances. He was calculated, patient, strategic. Cersei is none of those things. She's reactive, impulsive, paranoid. She sees enemies everywhere. She can't read people at all because she doesn't see them as independent beings with their own motivations. To Cersei, people are either tools that obey her or traitors that betrayed her. There's no middle ground. Tommen isn't his own person making his own choices. He's being manipulated by the Tyrells. Orain Waters isn't a man with his own ambitions. He just suddenly betrayed her out of nowhere. She can't play the game because she can't see the other players. Let's talk about how Cersei destroys everything. After arming the Faith Militant and plotting against Margaery, the High Sparrow turns on Cersei. He arrests her for adultery with Lancel. She's imprisoned for days, starved, broken down psychologically, and finally she confesses. But the confession isn't enough. To be released, she must perform a walk of atonement, walking naked from the Septa Baelor to the Red Keep, while a Septa rings a bell and chants shame. The crowd jeers, they throw food and filth at her. She hallucinates, seeing faces of her father, Ned Stark, Joffrey glaring at her. It's every fear she's ever had about herself made real. Weak, worthless, exposed, humiliated. In the show, Cersei's response is to blow up the entire Sept with wildfire, killing Margaery, the High Sparrow, the Tyrells, her uncle Kevan, and countless others. It's her greatest acts of revenge, but it also has an immediate consequence. Tommen commits suicide, her last remaining child, driven to death by her actions. Now that's the prophecy fulfilled. Cersei finally gets what she always wanted. The throne. She crowns herself Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, but she's completely alone. Her children are dead, Jaime abandons her, she has no allies, the Tyrells are destroyed, the North has declared independence, Daenerys is coming with dragons. All she has left is Euron Greyjoy and the Golden Company, and paranoia, and wine. She finally sits on the Iron Throne, high above them all, and she has nothing. Every single thing Maggie predicted comes to pass. She married the king, not the prince. She had 3 children with golden crowns as shrouds. A younger, more beautiful queen cast her down, and in the show she dies with Jaime's hands around her, not choking her but holding her as the Red Keep collapses. She spent her entire life trying to prevent the prophecy, and everything she did to stop it guaranteed it would happen. So what was Cersei's plan? On the surface, hold power, protect her children, destroy her enemies. But deeper than that, proof she wasn't worthless, proof she deserved the throne, proof she was Tywin Lannister's true heir, and deepest of all, bury the feelings of worthlessness, so deep that she never has to face them. Everything Cersei does comes back to this. She feels weak, worthless, and ugly deep down. She blames it on being born a woman. She projects it onto others. Other women are weak. Tyrion is monstrous. She projects it onto others. Other women are weak. Tyrion is monstrous. She builds this image of herself as a perfect, powerful, deserving. But it's all an illusion, and the more she tries to maintain that illusion, the more it cracks, the more she loses, the more the prophecy comes true. Cersei needed someone to help her process the trauma of losing her mother at age 7, of being ignored by her father, of committing murder at age 10, of being abused by Robert. She needed to learn that being a woman doesn't make her worthless, that she has value beyond being a tool, that she can be powerful in subtle ways, like Olenna or Catelyn Stark. But Westeros doesn't have therapy, and Cersei wouldn't have accepted it anyways, because accepting help means admitting weakness, and admitting weakness means facing all of those buried feelings that she spent a lifetime running from. There's something poetic about Cersei's downfall, because in the end she becomes exactly like her father, but only in the worst ways. Tywin was ruthless, yes, but he was also strategic, patient, politically brilliant. He built alliances, he understood the long game. Cersei gets the ruthlessness without the wisdom. She gets the cruelty without the calculation. She gets the pride without the competence. And just like Tywin, she dies having pushed away everyone she loved, killed by family, alone. The most tragic thing about Cersei is that she was evil. It's that she created her own downfall while trying to prevent it. If she hadn't been so paranoid about Tyrion, maybe she wouldn't have alienated him. If she hadn't armed the Faith, she wouldn't have been imprisoned. If she hadn't blown up the Sept, Tommen wouldn't have killed himself. Every single thing she did to save herself pushed her closer to destruction. The prophecy didn't doom her. She doomed herself believing in it. So let's answer the question. What was Cersei Lannister's entire plan? Her plan was to be Tywin Lannister, to be the powerful, feared, respected ruler she believed she deserved to be, to sit on the Iron Throne high above them all, and finally feel like she mattered. But the truth is simpler and sadder. Her plan was to never feel worthless again. Everything she did, every murder, every scheme, every desperate grab for power was about burying that deep feeling of inadequacy. About proving to herself that she wasn't weak, wasn't worthless, wasn't just a woman in a man's world. She merged her identity with Jaime to feel perfect. She enabled Joffrey to see herself as a perfect mother. She hated Tyrion because he symbolized all her fears about herself. She believed in the prophecy because it promised her the throne, but also gave her an enemy to fight against instead of facing her own demons. And in the end, she destroyed everything. Her children died, her allies abandoned her, her city burned. She got exactly what the prophecy foretold. Not because it was destiny, but because she made it happen. Cersei Lannister wasn't defeated by a younger queen or her little brother or fate. She was defeated by herself. That's her entire plan explained. A tragic cycle of self-destruction, driven by a prophecy she believed in. Shaped by trauma she never processed, seeking power to fill a void that power could never fill. She's not just a villain, she's a tragedy. A woman who wanted so desperately to be seen as strong that she could never admit how broken she actually was. And that's what makes her one of the most compelling characters in Game of Thrones. Not because she was evil, but because we can see exactly how she became that way, and how it all could have been prevented if just one person had seen her for who she really was underneath everything. Weak, afraid, and desperately trying to hide it. That's Cersei Lannister's entire plan explained. So what do you guys think? Was Cersei always doomed, or could she have changed? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to press the like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.